So now, okay, it's streaming. So now we should be able to find it here. It's up. How do I can I not stream from here? Here we go. It says come to see live stream. Let's change that.
You're streaming from your channel, not Ramani.
Yeah, we weren't able to get it on Ramani. So I'm gonna call this Gideon, how the web works. How the web works. Oh wow, I can see your thing, how the web works.
You can see
his
Oh, they were already on the screen.
Not yet. All right, so because I haven't shared the link yet. Okay, so now, that's what it looks like. So now let's go to youtube.com so we can share the stream. All right, Gideon, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
So let's just test these camera angles first. Okay, we have one viewer. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth screen. Let's see. Okay, so I've started it over. Okay, should be up now. Alright, so now let's get some guys on here. Alright, do you want to share the link, Julie? I can share it in the group. Yeah, it's the same link that I shared. I just want to leave from here because if I leave, it might stop streaming. Right. It should say Gideon now. There, you see? There's Gideon typing on his phone. All right, let me swap to the poster. Oh, swap to the poster. So there's gonna be a slight delay, maybe around 5 seconds, 5-6 seconds, and then now it's swapped back. Sorry?
Get my angle.
Your angle, yeah, sure. We can click on your angle, which is this one. So yeah, it's up. Your angle's fine. You're talking about there's a latency. Okay, we're gonna have to keep quiet fairly soon.
Oh, there it is.
There's your angle, yeah.
You like it? Right. And your wallet.
You can keep the wallets there.
Trying to get you a clear view.
I think that's fine. I think that's perfect. All right, I'm gonna post in the group. Are you posting?
Yeah.
All right. There's no music. Well, it's working.
Mic check. Mic check, 1, 2, mic check.
I'm picking you up. All right, Julie. We're gonna have to keep quiet, Julie. Maybe we should let some guys join. Also the comments, welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Okay, the chat is working as well. Looks like I'm not sure which link you sent. Let me share another link. 1 second. Yeah, I think it's up there. Here we go. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We're just waiting for some guys to join. Hey everyone, welcome. We're just letting other individuals join the stream. Thank you so much for joining us today on this lovely Friday afternoon. Hope everyone can see me. If you can see me in the chats, if you can hear me, please let us know in the chat. The chat is now active. We have a lovely speech for you today, a lovely presentation by Gideon. Let us know if you can hear us, if you can see us. I'm about to play around with some camera angles here as well. Let us know if everything is functioning in the chats. The chat is now open. All right, it looks like we have 15 viewers so far. We have 15 viewers so far. That's a very good number. Let's see if we can get it up to 20, and then we can get started. All right, it looks like the audio is working. We have positive feedback on the audio. Hello, Gerald, welcome. Jude, welcome. Claudian, welcome. Thank you for participating in the chat. All right, let us get started. I think we have a good number of viewers. So I'd like to do a quick introduction. As you guys can hopefully see me, I know the glare is a little bit large in the back. My name is Calvin. I'm CTO and co-founder of Ramani. Hopefully I'll be moderating the talks moving forward. I have a very good treat for you today. I have one of our lead engineers here at Ramani, one of the first engineers to join, Gideon. You'll be able to see him on a camera angle fairly soon. He'll be taking us through how the web works, basically an intro to the World Wide Web, how it works. He'll be taking us through some web services as well, and you'll hopefully be able to see some coding on his screen, which I will show in a second. Gideon, why don't you say hello to the fans?
Hi everyone. I'm happy to be doing this with you, Calvin. Thank you for organizing and putting this together. I'm excited to talk about the web, HTTP, and REST APIs today.
Awesome, fantastic. And it looks like all of our camera angles are working, as you can see.
Why won't you enough?
I can pick you up perfectly. I'm picking you up perfectly. And it looks like in the chats they can pick you up as well. So I will go ahead and put up your screen, and we can begin with the conversation. How does the web work?
Yeah, sure. So is my screen live?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yep.
So today I want us to talk about how the web works, and in particular we're going to talk about REST APIs and HTTP. So yeah, Calvin did the intro, I prepared this slide, but just in case you want to get in touch after this talk, that's my website and that's my Twitter handle. And for our menu today, we're going to look at web services, REST APIs, HTTP requests, HTTP responses, and then we'll try to build a simple server, and a REST API, and then a client application to consume that REST API. So we'll just dive into it. How does the web work? In practice, I would say the web works mostly through web services. This is a broad topic, whereby if you say if you start looking at the web, you have to look into the internet, etc. All that theory won't be going into today. We're just going to concentrate on a few web services. And so if you ask what a web service is, just to put it simply for you, it's a service offered by an electronic device or machine communicating via the internet. So let's dive a little bit more into this. So just say that a web service is offered by it's mostly machine-to-machine communication over the internet, and the web services use open standards and internet protocols such as HTTP. Some examples include Ajax calls, REST APIs, etc. But today I want us to focus on REST APIs. So what are REST APIs, or what's REST? This is something you're going to hear often it's something you hear often when you're in the software engineering industry. And at Ramani, REST is something that we use to build our APIs. So what REST is, first of all, is short for representational state transfer. It's an arterial design, or say a paradigm for web services. In practice, REST is mostly applied when building APIs. So if you follow REST to build your API ends up being called RESTful API. And then that begs the question, what is an API? An API is short for Application Programming Interface, and it's a way through which machines communicate with each other. Here is a simple diagram here to just sort of help you visualize what I'm talking about, whereby you have a client, and we're going to see what a client means. And then you have it communicates to a REST API that can also communicate to it, and then from a REST API to a server, then a server to an API. Now let's talk about what a client is, because I'm introducing these are new terms. Before we just want us to understand what these terms are before we go further. So a client is a machine requesting for a resource. In practice, most people, when they talk about clients, they mean a software making the request. So for example, if you have your application or you go to your browser and you want to view a list of orders that you've made, in this case, someone could call the browser that you're using a client application, or they could just say that's the client asking for a resource. And then what's a server? A server is where you're going to find this resource. In the industry, so a server is basically just another computer, but you find that this computer is still to be desktops or stationary somewhere, or just a bunch of CPUs wrapped on each other in a certain room. And then how do APIs come in? Now that we know what a client is and we know what a server is, we'll say APIs are just a way for them to communicate. It's just an interface. And here is a good example, analogy to use. So the server is the people preparing the food. So this is a very good example. So you go into a restaurant, you take a seat, and then you go through the menu and you have to order for, let's say, you want to order some shrimp. So you call a waiter and tell them what they need. This waiter will leave and go behind a certain counter or somewhere, and then try to fetch you the shrimp you ordered. If this shrimp is available, they will come back with it. If it's not available, they will come and let you know that, hey, what you requested for isn't available. So this is the same thing that happens between a client and a server. And
the interface between the client and the server is the API. Is what we are calling the API.
Now, we've understood what the client is, what a server is, what an API is. Now let's understand REST more. So we've said REST is an architecture. Meaning, an architecture, it's a way to design something. So it provides a set of constraints that you can follow when you're designing your API. And the first principle there is that it uses client-server architecture. We've seen what client-server architecture is. It's basically the separation of concerns, where you have one system separated from the other. It's stateless. This is a very important constraint. What stateless means is no information is retained by the server between requests. So requests that are coming in from the client, the server won't retain any information. You can cache responses. This applies especially when you're trying to improve performance. It provides a layered system. What that means is you can introduce intermediaries between your client and server. Again, this is also can be used to improve performance, or when you're scaling, and you just add another layer between your client and server. Code on demand, whereby you can extend functionality of the client from the server by just passing code.
Then there's use of resource identification in requests, which is uniform interfaces. Now let's dig a little bit deeper. So REST
APIs can be implemented in HTTP. Now, what's HTTP? HTTP is a protocol for transmitting media documents. It's just a protocol that governs communication via the internet. Just governs communication over the internet. Normally, it was initially designed for browsers to communicate with servers. So, in HTTP, normally the client initiates a request and then waits for a response. So let's talk about, we're talking about requests and so on. So let's dive deeper into a request, an HTTP request. So what an HTTP request simply is an ask for a resource. And how do you ask for the resource? By using the URI, Uniform Resource Identifier. And the most common one, the most common form we'll be using is a URL. So some of the components of an HTTP request, it has a URL, it has headers, it has a method, and it has a body. We are just going to look a little bit deeper into what these are. Starting with the URL. So many of us type URLs. Some of us might know what they are, some of us may don't know what exactly we are typing. So in this slide, I tried to dissect a URL and show you the different parts that make up a URL. So let's say you go to your browser and you type, this URL. What exactly are you typing in? So a URL contains the protocol, as you can see. So we are saying we are telling our browser or whichever application that is going to use this URL that we are using HTTP to govern this communication. And then the domain name. What a domain name basically is, it's an address. It's simply an address to the resource. And then a URL can contain a port or not. This is optional. Think of a port as a gateway to that resource, because if you look at a server as a computer, there are so many resources there. There are so many processes running. So ports define gateways to certain resources. And then a path. So in this case, the resource that we want is an order, or we want a list of orders, for example. We are saying go to this URL, this port, and then get us the orders. We are going to be using URLs a lot moving forward, so it helps that you understand what makes up a URL. This is a very basic example of a URL. A URL can get more complex than this. It will include a query, etc. But that we can look at later. Then we talked about, so that's the first component, a URL. The next component is headers. Or rather, let's first talk about methods in an HTTP request. So what's a method? A method is a verb that defines the operation of a request. So an example of a method, there are so many methods. This slide isn't going to. So there are so many methods. An example of a method is a get.
Hey Gideon, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So you were talking about a super interesting topic, which is the URL, right? Which for most people you would take and you would go to your browser of whatever choice. So it could be Google Chrome, it could be Safari, etc. And then you type it into that search bar, right? For those that aren't super familiar with the path and the port and natting and what happens from that point onwards, where you've put the URL into the browser, some stuff happens, and then I see a screen. Can you kind of take us through that flow?
Yeah, definitely, sure. I can I can even just do a sample.
Let's say come here and say type in facebook.com Now, a lot happens. So, what's happening is, and this we are going to look into. We are definitely going to look into. But one of the things that happens is the browser is going to make a request. And if you go to your browser, let's say I've typed facebook.com. Now, if you're using Chrome, you can see what's happening. Chrome as a browser provides what we call developer tools, or tools that can allow you to see what's happening. So, and to access those, you right click on your browser and say inspect. Then I can go to the network tab, for example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh this. So what's happening, all these calls are being made by my browser to a server. There are all these calls that are being made. And I'll pull out one in particular. You see, we are saying go to this, let me try to just zoom in. And you see, we have here the request URL. So the protocol here being used is, in this case, is HTTPS. And then we are saying this is the address that we want you to go to. And what you can see is we've talked about response headers. We've talked about headers. A request can have headers. We'll talk about a response later on. But look here. The method, we're still talking about methods. So we are trying to get whatever is at this, whatever resource is at the end of this path. Here, normally this path is called the index path. If you do not provide anything, then I'm to just say index. So you're trying to, but because you're not logged in, we cannot let you continue to that. So we first want you to log in. Does that sort of answer your question, Calvin?
Right. I'm also gonna add here because I want this to be a a conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So it's super interesting. You have like a series of computers, like Gideon said earlier. One that is hosting the actual website or the application, and then he added a path there so that app knows where to go to return resources. And then you also have these special computers, right, that map Facebook.com to IP addresses, which is basically where that app is being hosted, right? So when you type in Facebook.com, it goes to a special computer called a DNS, a domain name server. And that DNS says, hey, look, I know Facebook.com, right? It's this IP address, right? So it returns the information from that IP address through the port and the route, or the path, which is what Gideon was showing. And that's basically how it works. And you've probably heard of something called a packet, right? So you send out this information, it goes to a DNS says, hey, look, I know this, right? Here's the IP address for it. You take the path returns resources, and then it's returned in different packets scattered all over the world across multiple different computers. And that's basically, in a nutshell, for those that aren't super technical, how it works through these special computers called DNS, domain name servers.
We can actually, we can visualize what is happening there. Let me just open up my terminal here.
Nice.
So I can do a command where I say ping facebook.com. And look at this. So a ping to facebook.com returns this address.
Yep.
This IP address. And interestingly, I can now with that address I can instead just enter that address. But look here, okay, this connection, okay, for security reasons it's trying to log in to this IP address. But I can say advanced and then proceed to that. And then you see what's happening,
Right.
it opens up facebook.com. So that's the alias is just an alias
Right.
to that IP address.
Right. This is such a great example here, and you can see those packets, the packets that we're getting back from Facebook.com.
We just talked about.
Yeah, this is fantastic. What a great example.
Awesome. Also, just to continue to explain what, and we are going to look at this in more detail, what verbs are.
when we are looking at example, but I'll just list a few so you know what they mean when we reach that point. So an example is a get, there's a post, put. These methods, when you pass them with a request, they inform the server, hey, this request, this is exactly what we want from them.
This is what we want to do with the resource, whatever that target resource is. So a get, for example, we say, just give me a copy of that resource. A post is you're trying to create a new entity of that resource. You know, a put is you're trying to update. And there are so many verbs, but these are some of the common ones that you work with on a day-to-day. Cool. Let's talk about responses. So a response is an answer. It's just an answer to that request from the client. So a response, some of the components of a response are HTTP responses. You'll have a body, and then you'll have headers, and then the status code. We are going to dive into this. Response status codes. These are, I know there is one that people are very familiar with, but I would say what status codes are. These are special numbers that indicate if the request that you've made has been successfully completed by the server. And these numbers are grouped into 5 major classes. With one informational, which is numbers between 100 to 190, is successful, redirection, client error, and then server error. So what client error, for example, means is there's an error that's originating from the client side. Server error is an error that's happening on the server, or maybe it's not handled by the server. The server just doesn't know what to do when it's crashing. So those are status codes. These are some of the common examples. For example, 200, what it means. 201 means, hey, we saw that 200 status codes in the range of 200 means successful. With the first one, it just means that request is successful. 201 will mean the request is successful and a new resource was created. Now, there are many more status codes. I couldn't share all of them in this demo. You can look up more status codes. But these are some of the common ones. I know some of you have made the 404 status code that just means a resource is not found. Awesome. So now let's, just have one last slide there that is about HTTP headers. We are going to see what these mean, but basically what headers are. They are
a way for client and server to pass additional information to each other.
And they're normally in the form of, you have a key, a colon, and then the value. So let's go into a demo here and try to build our own web server or a RESTful API. So what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use Python with a framework called Flask, and I'm going to use Visual Studio Code to edit my code, the text editor that I'm using. So I'm just going to open up my terminal here. I have my terminal right here. I'll just make this bigger. So I'm going to go to my desktop by saying cd desktop. And then on the desktop I can create, I'm going to create a new folder. So these are just commands. So I can say make directory. This is what this command is. Make directory, then I can call, what will I call this? I can just call it server. Now I'm going to cd into that server. Then I'm going to open up my VS Code in there. So,
hey Gideon, can I just ask a quick question here before we get into the demo? So I just want to take a step back again because there are some viewers here very new to programming. Can you just take them through what Python is, what is a language, what is a framework. You mentioned a framework,
Yeah.
what that means, and also what is Visual Studio and why are they important?
Yeah, very good questions. Very good
Questions. So, just coming back to this slide. Now, a programming language, what that is,
It's a language that you use to tell a computer what to do, to provide instructions to a computer. There are so many programming languages. For example, there's Java, there's Golang, JavaScript, TypeScript. So many similar to, in how can I say, spoken languages that we use to communicate with each other. There's English, there's Swahili, so many. So it doesn't. I picked Python because I think Python is a simple language to learn.
Right.
I think people will easily understand. But to build a server, you do not have to use Python. You can use any language. Just like when you're speaking to someone, you can speak any language that they understand.
Exactly.
and then
A framework, now a programming language tells the computer what to do. Right now, what we want to do is we want to build a server.
but we do not want to build everything from scratch. This is why we are going to use a framework to help us do some heavy lifting. Right? So there are already things that Flask abstracts away some of the implementation that is already obvious, that's reusable, that you don't need to be building over and over again. So that's what frameworks do. Different languages have different frameworks. So Python, for example, has so many frameworks. One of them is Flask. Another popular one is called Django. Does the same thing. Another one is called, there's NumPy. So many. There's TensorFlow. No, is it? No, I don't think it's a PyTorch.
Yeah.
I would say PyTorch is a Python framework for machine learning and AI.
Right.
etc. Then text editor, basically code is text. I'm about to write code.
Right.
And code, it's text. So you can use anything. You can even decide to use Word, Microsoft Word, to write your code.
But there are special text editors that have been built to make writing code easier. And one of them is called Visual Studio Code.
Right.
Some others include PyCharm, Sublime, etc. Many developers have preferences for which text editors to use.
Right.
I
Right.
like to use Visual Studio Code because I think it's lightweight, it's nice, it's modern, I just love it.
I was actually, before I met Gideon, I was Sublime.
Yeah.
I love Sublime. I never pay for it, but I love Sublime. Maybe we should edit that bit out. Until I found Gideon using Visual Studio. And I was like, what's the hype about this Visual Studio? So I downloaded it. It's free. I don't get pestered around with those payment, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Those banners. So eventually I made the migration over to Visual Studio, and it's been a sublime experience. So that's basically what it is in a nutshell. If you guys still don't understand, please leave comments in the chats.
Awesome. Now let's get into it. So I have my Visual Studio Code open up right here. So what I'm going to do, you need to install Python on your computer to be able to write Python code. I already have Python installed on mine. However, I can, to install Python, you can just Google Python, and then you go to the official Python website, and then you can download Python. I already have Python installed. I can even just run a command Python, and you see Python is already installed. Let me quit out of this. So what do I need? I have Python installed. What else do I need? Now, because I have many
Python projects, I like to keep my projects environments separate.
So I use something called virtual, but that's another topic for this. You can look into what virtual is in Python later on. So now that what I'm going to do right now is I want to first create a virtual environment for my project. And the command for that is very simple. I'll say virtual VM. That will create a virtual for me. So if I do this, I have a virtual. And then with my virtual environment created, I'll just activate it. But what I want us to concentrate on is now writing. Now we have that out of the way. Let's concentrate on writing our server. So I need to first install Flask. Now to install Flask, Flask has, so you can just always Google Flask. So you may want to just Google Flask Python. Already Google knows I'm a developer, so they bring up Flask from Python. So but this is the documentation, so
To follow along in your own free time, this is where you can go to install Flask.
these are the commands. I've already gone through these commands. So the command to install Flask. When you install Python, it comes with a command called pip. But I want to use Python 3, so I'm going to say pip 3, and then I'll say install. The command is install Flask. So that installs Flask for me. And then so I come, this is my text editor, VS Code. So I'm going to come here, and then I'm going to create a new file where I'm going to write my code. And I'll call it update.py. So in here, I'm going to say, because I want to use Flask, so I'm going from Flask import Flask. Then with Flask imported, now I can use it. So I'm going to create an instance of Flask. Now, for now, I would say ignore this bit when I do this. Now, because I've created an instance of Flask, I'm going to use this variable to create, I would say, server identifiers or routes. So I'll just do a decorator, for example, and do app.route.
So I'm using app.route. So my very first route, I'll just say
and then what do I want when we visit from, what do I want to happen? I'm going to say, I'm going to define a function in Python resolve def, and then what I can call my function home. And then right here, I can return, I can return a text hello world. So let me, guys, this is it. This is a server. Right here, this is it. If you can write this, I think just start applying for jobs at your money. We'll have it. This is a very simple server right here.
So let me run it and we see what's happening. So I just need to say
Flask run. And then look at this. It's saying running on. This is where I can find my server that I just created. This is the path to it. This is the URL to it that we talked about. As you can see, it's using HTTP. And then this is the IP address right here. And then this is the port. It's running on this port. So what happens if I, let me copy this and put it in my browser. So we didn't define anything at that URL, but we defined something at home. This is it. What did we define? We defined hello world. So what is happening is, in my browser, let me use Chrome Developer Tools. for us to see what exactly is happening. So let me just refresh this. What's happening is, hey, we are saying this, first of all, what this is, this IP address, it's the IP address for your machine, your local machine, and just for you to visualize it better, let us use its alias, which is localhost. So if I just change this to say localhost, I still get the same thing. So localhost 500, and then it's calling home, and then when I go to home, the method that I'm using is a get. By default, the browser is defining this, and then if you look at the response, I'm just returning text. Simple text that gets displayed in the browser. You can also, in Chrome, you can view, sorry, let me just click out of this. You can view the page source. As you can see, the page source is just text. But there's more that you can return here. So let's say you want to return, because websites are normally HTML. So for example, we can return HTML here, let's say H1. We'll talk about what that is. And in fact, to make this even interesting, let me, to show that things are changing, let me change the word here and say Hakuna Matata. Okay. So what happens if I come and refresh, this isn't changing. Why? I've made changes. So now I need to first stop my server and then restart it for those changes to be applied. And then now if I'm to refresh here, look at these things. So we now know, and what am I returning now? I'm returning HTML. I'm returning markup text, and in that text there is a number. We can now view the page source for this. So if I click out of that, and then I say view page source, you can see that this is HTML that's being returned, which is just a one tag. And then just to visualize what's happening also in the network tab of the browser, you can see that I make a request, and this is the URL, this is the get that's going with that request, and then I can see that this is the response that I'm getting back. We talked about headers. What are headers? What we say is it's just additional information that browsers or that clients and servers use to talk to each other. So an example, if you're to look at these headers are automatically being generated by our browser, which is Chrome. The user agent, etc. We can. So for now, how can I say? The headers are so many. Some of them you may need to know, some you might not need to know. We can define our own headers. We can just highlight a few, and inform you what they mean. For example, host, you define the host. Right now it's on our local host, where this is. If this website was, if maybe my application is being hosted somewhere, and that's where I'm making the call for, the host name will be here. It's more like metadata about just the browser. So the user agent here, different browsers define different user agents, because if you look, it's not only the browser that can make such a request. Apps also make requests to URLs, so that's a different user agent, and such information is passed through headers by defining, for example, what the user agent is. Okay, let's just create one, such that you get the hang of this. Let's create one more route right here. So I can just copy this, and then maybe in this route, it's a page called about, and then let's change the names of the function.
So I can call my function here about, and then I can say right here karibu about page. So right now, if we are to go, we can go to our about. Look at this. So right now, first of all, when I say about, we are getting a 404, meaning that that resource that you are requesting is not found, but we just defined it. So right now, the instance of our server that is running is not yet aware of that page. And in fact, if you come here and look at your console log, so when you go to the get and you go to this about, the status code being returned is a 4 for that A. We do not know about that resource. So I can kill, my server and then just restart it with a Flask CRUD. And then now, when I try to access this resource, it brings Karibu about us page, about page. So in a nutshell, this is how things, it's simple like this. This is how you write servers. Of course, there's a lot that's happening in the background. For example, here we are setting up your route by defining a route. So our computer knows to listen for those routes. But that's why we have Flask, the framework. So the framework is already handling those things. And all that we need to do is just build our server that's going to serve our pages or our resources. Right? I don't know if there are any questions in the chat so far regarding where we are.
So far, no questions. There's one here, a request from Gerald to add some more light to those routes in VS Code. Can you add some light?
So, what a route is and some people are going to call them an endpoint. A route is a way to point to a resource. So right now we know that our server is going to run on this address through this port. But when we reach this port, okay, what resource do you want? Let's say I want orders, right? So you would have to define a route here, for example, that is going to return orders. So to define a route, it's very simple. It's just up, route, the name of that route, and then you can perform some logic here. We are going to look at that. Perform some logic here, and then you can return whatever that resource is. Now I think let's build an API here. Right now, this is serving as a server to just serve this. Let's try to make it an API that a client can call. Right now, when a client, it's not, this is not active, it's serving straight, there isn't an interface. So right now, let's say we have a client that wants maybe orders. Let's say we are building the next app that handles orders. So normally, a person has created orders and you store these orders in your database. Right now, I'll just have my orders here in memory by creating a list. This is this in Python is called a list. So, and this is the name of the list. This is called a variable. So my orders, and then let's say we are storing our orders as dictionaries. So you have your product name. Let's say each order for product has a product name. Now let's say this is required ice cream. And then what quantity did you order? So quantity. So what a dictionary is, and just for you to visualize this, I'm going to try and format it.
What a dictionary is, it's a key and then a value. So for product name, we are saying
That product is the name. What quantity did you order? We'll make our quantity a number. Let's say you ordered 10 of this. And then let's say you had 2 orders. So now let's say this product is Tanga Fresh milk, and then maybe you ordered 15 of these. So these are your orders, and let's assume this is our database. So right here, when I say I want orders, now instead of returning this, I can return those orders. So I'll create another dictionary here, and then I'll say orders. I'll say the orders equal to this is a key, and then what value? These are the orders right here. And then I say orders. Now, when someone calls this endpoint or this route, we are going to return to them a dictionary or a JSON object at that point of orders. So, of course, right now, if we are to go to orders, it will say it's not found because our server doesn't know about this yet. So I'm just going to restart our server. Oh, and it's complaining. Why is it complaining? I obviously know why. Because you can read about errors here. View function mapping. It's because this function has the same name as this function. So it's like, okay, I don't know which function is which. So I can just rename this function to get orders. And then run my app. Everything is now okay. Now when I come to orders, so look at this. These are my orders. So the data here isn't formatted properly, but let's look at it here in the network tab. So the path here is I'm going to localhost and then I'm getting orders. And then the response, let's preview the response. So we are getting that array of orders right here. So these are the orders you've made. And you can, there's a lot you can do with this. You can display this data. You can, many people, but most of the purposes will be just to display. Another person can compute this data, can rather fetch this data and try to do something with it. Maybe compute something, or draw a graph or something. Yeah. So I don't know if that makes routes, does that help on shedding more light on routes?
I think so. I would like to ask a more generic question here. I see there is some activity in the chats here, but a question for you, a lead engineer at Romani, for the individual that's just starting off, I wouldn't say in computer science, but just software engineering in general, right? What advice do you have for them in terms of picking a track? So maybe it's web development, maybe it's backend services, app development, etc. But let's stick to web specifically because that's what the examples have basically been on. How do they get started? What's the best way to get started?
That's a very good question.
There's no particular answer that's set in stone that this is how you get started in web.
There are so many paths that you can take. What most people do is that people who do boot camps, that people who are self-taught, that people who learn this from computer science class. But I think
a way that you can get started is one way I can recommend is think of something that you want to build.
Let's say you want to could be a system to manage entrances at a gym. To manage system for point of sales at a supermarket. Think of that thing that you want to build, for example, and you just want to use web technologies. Ask around what you can use to do that. And then
When you ask around, people will tell you what technologies, and then you start learning those technologies.
Right.
Start with the
fundamentals, just like if
someone
someone
understands what routing is, what a URL is. They already know how how different components are going to communicate to each other.
Right. Right.
And then you can now start learning the programming languages that you're going to use.
Right.
For the front end, maybe you're going to use JavaScript, or you're just going to put everything together and you just use JavaScript. Right?
Right, I completely agree. You know, like you said, there are so many ways to do things. There are so many ways to skin a cat. It's a phrase that I hear so many times, right? And I think you said something super important, which is the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Right, knowing the fundamentals first and mastering the fundamentals first, and then everything else is just a tool. Which I'd like to echo what you just said. Learn the fundamentals, and everything else is just a tool, which I think is super cool. Like Python, for example, it's a tool.
Yeah.
You mentioned so many frameworks, right? You mentioned so many languages. You can build the same web server with Java, right? You can build the same web server if you wanted to with C++, right? So I think understanding the fundamentals, I think, is super important, just like what you said. Another question that I have for you, and I think this will be my last one for the day, taking you off the hot seat. Can you just tell us a little bit about your history, your journey through computer science, through software engineering, how you started building applications, and just how that kicked off for you? And would you do something differently? I think it's another one. So how you started, what your kind of path was to software engineering, and if you could, what would you do differently?
Those are very good questions. I got into computer science at university. I got a government scholarship to do computer science back in Kampala in Uganda, Makerere University. So that's how I first got introduced to the field. And then learning computer
science, you introduced to various concepts.
Right.
But obviously, interest, the desire for me to build things grew.
Yep.
It was already there, but the more I learned computer science courses, the desire to build different things grew. And so at the end of my computer science program at university, I got an internship at an application development studio in Kampala called Colors. They developed one of the popular games in East Africa called
Okay.
So when I got to this development studio, these guys were building very well polished applications, clean interfaces, good code. I'm like, what? You mean I can do this? This is an internship. So you mean me, Gideon, from here, I can do these applications? So they're like, yes. And then I started off by building a car wash, an Android application to book car washes, to one to other etc. And that was it. Now that's where I would say that journey is properly started. It's probably around 2017.
And when you were building this app, did you use REST? I remember you mentioned REST in the presentation earlier. Is that something that you used building this application?
No. So at that point, I didn't even know what REST was. I was just building interfaces for the app and building functionalities that, hey, when I come to my app and I click on this button, I want this button to do this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
At that point, I didn't understand what architecture is. Like, how do you, like, when I click this button to book an order for car wash, what happens? Right? I didn't know what that was. So how I come to learn that it's it's a self-taught thing in a way.
Right.
It's through attending talks like this.
Yep.
Kampala, it's the developer community there is huge. So there's a lot of developer events. I was a community lead myself at a point where I would organize events.
Right.
So it was through events like this. And then I was also at a company called Andela, which is a global talent marketplace for developers.
Right.
And the time I joined Andela, that is fantastic program whereby we go through, I would say, mentorship, apprenticeship
Right.
for a whole 6 months on how to build software. And a lot of these things were covered in that period.
And this was in Uganda. This is when
Yeah,
you were in
this
Uganda.
was
at the
in
time.
Uganda. Yeah.
Okay. This makes sense. So if I understand correctly, just to summarize for the guys on the call, first thing is focus on the fundamentals. From what I heard is you don't really do you advise people to go get a computer science degree, or are there other ways to get started with the fundamentals? Are there other ways that you can get your path going to software development?
That's a very interesting
question. It's a hot topic.
Yep.
And, because I know many people in computer science drop out.
because people are dropping out. What I would say is it's unique to each individual.
Yeah.
It's unique to each individual. You just need to really examine what your situation is.
Right.
If you can afford to do a computer science degree and your parents are already paying for it, do not drop out, just finish the degree.
Yeah.
If you're already doing another, let's say you're coming from another industry and you want to pivot,
Yep.
you don't really have to do a computer science degree. There are already courses that you can take online, there are boot camps. All these resources are available online that you can use to teach yourself.
Right.
I would just say just strive to learn.
Yep.
That's it. Just be open-minded, and even if you're doing a computer science degree, just keep learning. Not everything is taught in this degree. Many of the things that you're going to apply in practice, some which are not taught. So attend the talks.
Right.
Read the blogs or the articles, watch that crash course on
Yep.
YouTube.
As in, you mentioned YouTube, which I think is a fantastic free platform for guys to go ahead and get started. There are some companies right now, Apple's one of them, that have completely removed the computer science degree as a requirement. Before it used to be a minimum requirement, now it's no longer a requirement, which means that there are multiple other ways to actually get the fundamentals and to practice them.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something really interesting, which is basically just be keen to learn.
Yeah.
Right. One thing that I keep dear to my heart is not fearing breaking points. You failing fast to learn fast. So how do you get started? You just start. Right. You learn the fundamentals. You get a book. You get a course on YouTube. CS50 from Harvard is a fantastic course that teaches you the fundamentals. And then after that, you just pick a language, pick a framework, and you just get started. You just keep going. You fail, and you get back up, and you learn, and you proceed from there. So I think that's really great advice for those that are just starting off, or those that are thinking about starting off software development. Where to go, what to do. I think Gideon has given us a great crash course into how to get started. We're just about at an hour. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, Gideon, before we conclude the stream?
Not grab more content, but I would say, Calvin, thank you for organizing this, for putting this together. I hope we can have more of this, where people can tune in, ask questions. I'll just iterate on that growth or having an open mindset.
Right.
So let's even first talk about what open mindset means is this is a person who is willing to learn, right?
Who is open to asking questions, and this is how we learn.
Right.
But
Right.
having an open mindset.
Right.
If you have a blocker, you're not suffering this blocker by yourself.
If there's something that you do not understand, you're open to asking for help. This is how you get started in the software industry. Be open to ask for help. People ask for help in Stack Overflow.
Yep.
They reach out to other people in WhatsApp groups, developer communities. So have an open mindset, and understand that if something is not working, feel free to ask people. People are always happy to help.
I've just added the Stack Overflow link to the chat. He's mentioned a fantastic community of experienced developers, junior developers, people that are just trying to learn things as they go. That's definitely a resource that I'd recommend when you're trying to solve problems. Just if you have an issue, go to Google, type in how to blank 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 in blank language, right? And I'm sure the first thing that will come up is something on Stack Overflow. Someone else that as eager as you are trying to learn something, run into that issue, and you have a lot of other experienced developers that are ready to help with those issues. So the comment is in the chat there, stackoverflow.com. We also have Gideon's personal website as well. Gideon, do you mind mentioning your website again so I can share it with the group?
Yeah, it's just gideonb.dev.
Gideon B, I'm going to add that to the chat as well.
Yeah.
B.dev, right?
Yeah.
So you can go to Gideon's website. You can also find Gideon on LinkedIn as well. We're going to link this to Ramadi channel fairly soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We've gone at it for an hour. Fantastic content. I know there's more, so we will have a lot more content for you. So come back next week. We'll have more content for you. You'll figure out what Gideon has to show if you come back to the stream. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you, Gideon, for taking your time to put together fantastic content for the group. How can they get access to your slide, to your deck? What best way can you give them access to that deck?
I can share the link. I can share the link and you add it, but the code I've used, it's also there on GitHub and it's in the slides, the link.
Perfect. Then we can put that link in the comments as well as the description of the video. You'll be able to rewatch this video once I stop streaming on YouTube, and then moving forward will be on the Ramadi YouTube channel, so you can get all your content in one place. Thank you guys, thank you so much, and have a great Friday.